story is about love, passion, lies, the truth, desperation, and family. Nandi Dlamini is a Zulu girl from KZN. She comes from a middle-class family. Her dad owns his own cleaning service, and the mom is a caterer, food caterer. She was a very, very, very smart young lady growing up. And her parents worked very hard to make sure that her intelligence was just not wasted and withered away. They worked really hard and stretched that coin to make sure that Nandi could go to her dream university, which was in Cape Town, so that she could study law. And of course, she did what she could as well to make that money to contribute. And so she went off to Cape Town to study law. Now, Emmanuel Asaju's from Nigeria, raised in Abuja. He moved to Cape Town and had been staying there for many years before he met Nandi. Now, his purpose for moving there was business. He wanted to start his own business, which he did very successfully, moved to Cape Town, and within 5 years, he met Nandi. They were at a friend's birthday dinner, a mutual friend's birthday dinner, and they met. And from that moment, they were all up in each other's space. It was about, getting to know each other. And very quickly, they figured, we're very stimulated by one another, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and just that intelligence, like speaking to somebody who gets it. So they spent a lot of time together. Now, it didn't take Emmanuel very long to realize, this is my wifey. I'm going to marry this woman. I love her. She's everything I want. I'm going to marry her. And so he did what any respectful man would do, which is get the elders involved. And so he got the elders involved, and within no time it was, okay, well, elders are involved. Nandi's clearly into this man as well. The next thing are the Lobola Negotiations. And so those were well underway. And after months of traveling back and forth, Emmanuel's family traveling back and forth for the negotiations are finally finalized. And in this particular trip, his mom came from Abuja with the dad and the uncles. And so they came to Cape Town, and the negotiations are finalized. Nandi is almost Mrs. Asaju. They are in bliss right now. They're about to be married. They've agreed on the bridal price. Everything is just where they want it to be. Now, because of the back and forth thing, and now lockdown, being implemented, Emmanuel's parents were like, we have to go back to Abuja before we get stuck here during lockdown. And so Emmanuel decided, why not just have a lunch at my apartment, not the actual, ceremony lunch, just something small as a little farewell to my parents until we see them again after lockdown. I mean, obviously nobody knew how long it was going to take, and so they agreed. It was not supposed to be anything very formal. It was just, let's have lunch with mom and dad before they go back. And he suggested that Nandi invite her parents and whoever else wanted to come from that side of the family, especially because the women were not involved in this negotiation process. So yes, bring them along. And so they did. Nandi invited her mom. She invited her dad, of course, and her mamncane, her mom's sister. And on the day of the event, she did what she does best, which is make sure the place looks like a home. She's all about her decorating. She loves to do table setups and make places look the part. And it looked stunning. She did everything on the table, put centerpieces, all of that, was making sure the decor was on point. She was also helping Emmanuel with the catering. Now, he knows his family. He knows they love their traditional cuisine. He knows Nandi's parents love their traditional cuisine. So they got a caterer. I mean, somebody who could cater to both. And of course, to save them time, energy, let's just get somebody who can do this for us. And so they did. On the day of the event, the caterer came, dropped the food, wrapped it, told them what to do closer to the time, and left. Now, time is running. And Emmanuel says to Nandi, babe, let's just go and get dressed. This place looks beautiful, it looks stunning. He knows his baby. He knows she's a perfectionist. He knows that if he doesn't say anything, she will be there fixing things to the very last minute. And he wants her to be calm and to just, take her time getting ready. So he says, let's go and get ready. And they do. Eventually, their first guests arrive, which are Emmanuel's parents. Emmanuel's parents bring his uncle, being the dad's brother. They come in. Nandi welcomes them. She gives them something to drink and brings them to the lounge and takes them to the lounge area. Not too long after that, their relationship therapist and counselor arrived, Mrs. Lieberman. And so she arrives and they're just so happy to have her here. Nandi and Emmanuel from the beginning were very clear about one thing. When we decide to get married, and prior to getting married, we have to do some therapy. Nandi was already with Mrs. Lieberman doing therapy, and she brought Emmanuel in so that they can start discussing things that had more to do with their relationship and, just stuff you would discuss as a couple before they decided to take this final step and bring the elders into the dynamic. And so they had been with her for a while. Now, don't get it twisted. This weren't their only mentors or source of wisdom. They had a pastor. They were also in church. So they were just, where we can get knowledge, let's take it. And let's also get it from more than one source, from the therapist and from our pastor at church. And so she gets there and she's just so happy to be here. She loves Nandi and Emmanuel as a couple. She thinks they're absolutely amazing and she's rooting for the couple. So she gets there, she greets and introduces herself to Emmanuel's parents and the uncle. And shortly after that, the Dlaminis arrive. Nandi's parents as well as Unandi's mom's sister, Mamngani. So they get there and everything is the thing. They are drinking in the lounge, talking, chatting, and eventually Nandi comes in and asks them to all come to the dining room area so that they can have some lunch. Now, of course, they've got this display of food on the table and everybody is blown away. And they're so impressed by the fact that there's food from both cultures to just balance this out and make it a wholesome, good meal. And so they sit down and they start talking and get to eating. Now, Emmanuel's mom is like many mothers whose sons are the breadwinners, whose sons send home money and send money home and could pretty much help take care of them. She's possessive of her son and very wary of any woman who's coming in there because her thing is that we are the priority, number one. Number two, this is my son's money. And she cannot help herself. She cannot even hold that vibe. So she's watching Nandi very closely. And when they sit down, Emmanuel has a seat next to Nandi. They're eating and all of that. And Nandi sees her strap, the strap of her dress kind of tangled. And so he fixes it for her. And Mrs. Asaju is looking across the table like... Eventually she says, so, Emmanuel, have you guys decided where you'll be staying when you come to Nigeria? Have you decided if you'll be in Abuja or if you're going to go to settle down in Lagos? And Mrs. Dlamini is like, Nigeria? I didn't know anything about you guys moving to Nigeria. What's going on? And Nandi's like, no, Mom, it's not that we're moving to Nigeria just yet. And Emmanuel says... And Mrs. Emmanuel's mom says, so you guys are not coming to Nigeria. And Emmanuel puts a stop to it. He says, Mom, we're going to come to Nigeria, just not right away. It's probably going to be my business and what Nandi's doing. It's going to take a bit of time. We've decided we're going to stay here in Cape Town for a few years and then make our way there. But for business, it makes more sense for me to stay here. And his mom is not feeling it. She is looking at them like, I cannot believe this. But of course, she's blaming Nandi. She's looking at Nandi like, you little piece of work. So now my son is not moving back home. And so she's just looking at her. And Nandi can feel it. She can feel eyes are on her. And so she's eating and trying not to make eye contact and kind of looking around. And just to break the tension, Mrs. Lieberman chimes in, and the therapist, and says, this food is absolutely delicious. As you guys can see, I'm tasting a bit of everything and I'm loving it. Nigerian food is amazing. Nandi, your traditional food is amazing. This is just amazing. And they're kind of just looking at her like, so they carry on eating, and the tension is building up. She is not liking it. Eventually, Nandi decides to excuse herself. She needs to go to the bathroom. So she gets up and she goes to the bathroom. Now, this is maybe 30, 40 minutes into the lunch where she sat there and she's had to bite her tongue and pretend she doesn't feel this tension in the air and key and make small talk. She eventually excuses herself and goes to the bathroom. Emmanuel offers everybody at the table something to drink. He's going to the kitchen. Can you bring some drinks out? And he takes their order. So he goes to the kitchen and he sees Nandi leaving the bathroom to go back to the table, and he manages to flag her down to say, come to the kitchen. So they go to the kitchen and he's like, baby, you didn't tell your parents that we're planning to move to Nigeria. And she said, no, I didn't tell them that. We had decided that we were only going to move in a couple of years. And so I figured I had time to let them know. I don't want to upset anybody. So I'm just letting them know. So I just wanted to hold off on letting them know. And he says, but babe, the pastor said, if this relationship is going to work, we need to be honest. Mrs. Lieberman says that all the time. And now you're holding this from your family. And she's like, okay, I get it. I completely get it. I get it. But do you blame me for not saying anything now? And he's like, no, I don't blame you. And she was like, Emmanuel, I get it. I understand. And he said, look, I know you're feeling a bit, uncomfortable and this is a lot. But, we have to be honest, babe. If this is going to work, we have to be honest. And she says, well, now that we're being honest, your mother doesn't like me. And Emmanuel kicks into typical guy. No, my mom loves you. It's not that. It's just that she's a very protective woman. She wants the best for me as her son, but she loves you. And Nandi is looking at Emmanuel like, wake up. Your mother does not like me. She absolutely does not like me. And she says, no, Emmanuel, you can say what you want. I know you see your mother looking at me the way she is, and she's blaming me for us not going to Nigeria when we agreed that we were going to take a couple of years, and the move was especially, and waiting off on the move is especially because of your business. Now back at the table, they're talking. Mamngani is talking to Mrs. Lieberman, the therapist, having a very cordial, kind, calm conversation. Like, yes, so, how did you meet the two as a couple? This, that, and the other. Mrs. Dlamini is talking to her husband in her home language. She's letting her husband know, I knew it. I knew. This is exactly why I said this relationship is going to be problematic. I told Nandi that I have no problem with foreigners, but I prefer that she does not marry man because of this. Look at what is happening. Already the community, my friends, the family are talking about the fact that she's marrying a Nigerian man, and now they're talking about moving to Nigeria. What are they going to say? What are they going to say at church? This is a mess. This is an absolute mess. What are they going to say? Mr. Dlamini is like, now calm down. Calm down. This is not always about everybody else. Listen to you. You're talking about what is the church going to say? What are your friends going to say? What is the family going to say? It's not about them. Our daughter is marrying this man because she loves him, and we're here to support her. Calm down. Why are you worried about that type of stuff? Mrs. Dlamini is not here for the way her husband is not supporting her and having her back, and she lets him know the problem here is that all you seem to be worried about is booze. You drink, you drink, you drink, you drink. Mr. Dlamini knows his wife's mouth. He knows it. He knows it all too well. And he's not about to have it out with her at the table. So he rolls his eyes and he looks away like, I'm not even going to deal with her mouth because I know it all too well. Opposite the table, the Asaju family are also having their own little private conversation. Well, at least Mrs. Asaju is. And she's saying to her husband, I told you. I said to you that Emmanuel needs to marry a girl from back home. I found him a lovely lady. I introduced the two, and you supported him when he rejected the notion. You supported him, and now look at this. He's now marrying a South African girl, and he has the nerve to say to our face that he doesn't plan on moving back home. What nonsense is this? Her husband says to her, listen, he is a grown man. Emmanuel is a grown man. You cannot force a woman down his throat and tell them they must get married and expect them to be happy and to build a life and a home together. It doesn't work like that. Times have changed. And she's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It's not always about what people want. It's about what you need. It's about what you need. And he would grow to love her. He would grow to honor her. He would grow to respect her, and he would grow to be happy. But now look at this mess. We've got the South African girl smiling in our face, knowing very well that she's keeping our son away from us. And he's just like, please, you need to calm down. Now his brother, Emmanuel's uncle, lets them know, guys, not at the table. Not here. Calm down. And so she keeps quiet. And of course, she's also giving this look like, I do not approve. I'm not liking this. This is unacceptable. Emmanuel and Nandi eventually come back to the table with the drinks, and they give everybody their drinks. And the husbands already know. They feel that tension, and they know they have to some way break it, because this vibe, this energy is not okay, especially not when the negotiations have been finalized. Like, what are we bickering and having this vibe about? What is going on? These two are supposed to be getting married. So Emmanuel gets back to the table, and he's already like, so Mr. Dlamini, tell us, how is your cleaning business going? How's everything going? And he says, things are a bit slow, but it's going well, my son. We've got, look, it's keeping food on the table. It's keeping the lights on. I'm happy. I cannot complain. My wife is well taken care of. So I'm doing well. And he's saying, oh, okay. So the dad, he's Emmanuel's dad, Mr. Asaju, chimes in, and he's also saying, oh, so you're in the cleaning industry. They start speaking about that, how he got into it, how many years he's been doing it, his exclusive services, how everything is going on. And he's even saying, that sounds like a very good plan. Perhaps that's something that they should think of investing in when they go back home. And Mrs. Dlamini saying, if there's anything you need assistance with, or if you want to know anything, feel free to let me know. We're about to be family. So, involve me if you need to involve me. Now, while they're talking, Mrs. Dlamini is not feeling this conversation. She wants to get down to the business, and she wants to get down to the business now. This small talk is not what she's here for. She's not feeling anything. She's not feeling the fact that they're thinking about moving to Nigeria. She's not feeling the fact that Mrs. Asaju seems to think she's better than her. She's not feeling a lot of things. She's not even feeling the fact that her husband is not taking her side. She thought her husband would be taking her side, but the thing that's bothering her the most is she's making a sacrifice. My daughter is marrying a foreign national. The church, family members, and friends are not happy about it, and she's had to swallow it for the sake of her daughter's happiness. She's had to swallow it, but now all of this is making her even more uncomfortable and more unhappy. And now they want to move to Nigeria. This whole thing is a mess. And so while the husbands are there, making this small talk and chatting about this business and what each of them do and this, that, and the other, she chimes in and she says, Nandi, she speaks over everybody. Nandi, I'm so happy that you and Emmanuel have decided to wait off on moving to Nigeria. Emmanuel, Ekaya, at home, we do things a certain way. It's important for me to continue to groom Nandi and teach her about being a good wife and taking care of her husband. But most importantly, when Nandi has her child, she needs to move back home for a couple of months so that I can teach her how to raise and take care of this child. And Mrs. Asaju is just like, well, if they move to Nigeria, I could do that too. I could do that too. In our culture, it's also very important for the mother to teach the bride how to be a good wife, how to really take care of her husband, how to raise the child, how to cook food for my son, because obviously we know they're not from the same culture. So how to cook food for him, his favorite dishes, how to clean the home properly, how to be a good wife. I mean, she is, marrying a Nigerian man. There's certain things that need to be done a certain way, and I could teach her how to do that. And while she's talking, she's making it a point to look at Mrs. Dlamini. She's looking at Mrs. Dlamini like, ma'am, I can do everything you think you're doing for your daughter. I can do that too. And Mrs. Dlamini mumbles out under her breath, oh, you can take care of men, all right? And she says, Mrs. Asaju says, excuse me? Now, Mamngani has had it. She has absolutely had it. Now, because she loves her sister and she supports her, she has kept her mouth shut, but she sees where this is going and she doesn't like it. And so she looks at her sister and she says, stop it, cut it out. Mrs. Asaju wants to know what she said. She said, no, talk. No, let her talk. What do you mean? What are you saying? And she said, I said, you know how to take care of a man, all right? And she says, absolutely, and I'm proud of it. I've been married to my husband for 28 years, and that doesn't happen by not knowing how to take care of your partner. So yes, I do. I do know how to take care of a man. Very well. Well, I take care of my husband well. And Mrs. Dlamini is like, and before your husband, which man were you taking care of? Because I hear you were dating his brother. And she points at the uncle at the table, Mr. Asaju's brother. Mrs. Asaju cannot believe that she has thrown that in her face and at the table where they're having lunch in front of her son. Her son knew that. But how dare you disrespect me in front of everybody? And so she looks at her husband and she looks at Emmanuel like, did you just hear that? Did you just hear what came out of this woman's mouth? Did you hear that? Now the uncle, Emmanuel's uncle, says, everybody calm down. Please calm down, calm down. This is now going to a place it doesn't need to go. Please, everybody calm down. Nandi gets up from the table, takes her mother by the hand, and she says, please come with me. Now they go to the guest bedroom where there's an ensuite bathroom. She takes her into the bathroom and she's like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Why would you say something like that? And she says, Nandi, I am not going to have some woman talk to me like some village idiot, like I don't know how to teach you how to be a good wife and a good mother. That makes no sense. Of course, I'm going to stand up for me. And I wouldn't have had to have said that if you had told her that my mother will do that. Thank you. Now, Nandi's standing there in disbelief and horror, looking at her mom like, when did you become this type of person where you could talk to people like this? You raised me better than that. And she says, her intention was never to disrespect you or to treat you like a village idiot. She was simply saying that if I come to Nigeria, I will be in good hands. It was never to insult you. It was never to insult you. Why? Why are you doing this? Now back at the table, Mrs. Asaju says, did you hear that? Did you hear what she said to me? Now Mamngani is trying so hard to just calm the situation down, and she says to her, I'm so sorry about that. I'm so very sorry about that. And she says, it's fine. It's fine, my dear. It's fine. I have no problem with you. You're a very nice woman, very respectful. Let me go to the bathroom and just fix myself up. And she looks at Emmanuel like, you. She gets up and she calmly makes her way to the bathroom. Now back in the guest room, in that guest bathroom, separate from the one the mother's going to, Nandi and her mother are going back and forth. And Nandi's saying to her mother, and why do you keep on bringing up this issue of a child and when I have a child and coming home so that I can look after this child? Why are you doing that? I told you not to bring it up. And Nandi's mother is Mrs. Lamin, is like, Nandi, how long are you going to pretend to this family like you do not already have a child? Does Emmanuel not know that when you guys get married that you're going to have to bring the child into this home? What does he expect? That Mamncane is going to be taking care of this child forever? Yes, at the beginning, that was the best way forward. You were still a student. You were still trying to get on your own 2 feet. You were hustling. You were making money. It made sense now. It made sense then. But now you're about to be a wife. And that child is yours. And you have to take care of it. Do you understand me? And she says, Mom, I know. Emmanuel knows. We've decided he loves the child. He wants the child to move in with us. But we both decided that that was a conversation we needed to keep between us, because his father and the brother have asked during the negotiations that it not be something. They spoke to Mr. Dlamini, they spoke to Dad, and they said that it not be something that is discussed until they go back to Nigeria and they speak to Mrs. Asaju about it. They didn't want to bring her into it prematurely because they knew this was going to turn nasty and it was going to turn into something it didn't need to be. They don't have a problem with it, but they knew that she would kick up a fuss. So no, to answer your question, Emmanuel doesn't expect me to keep this a secret forever. He doesn't expect me to keep my child hidden forever. What he expects is that we allow the dad and the uncle to tell the mom when they get back to Nigeria in their own way. They know how to handle her. And now you come to this table and you say these things. I mean, why are you being so disrespectful? And she's like, Nandi, you listen to me and you listen to me very, very, very carefully. I've had about enough. First of all, I'm your mother. Do not talk to me like that. I have kept quiet. I've been respectful. I've been understanding. When you came home and you told me you were marrying a Nigerian man, I didn't say anything against my better judgment. I'm dealing with the church, with friends, with family. You know your family. They have a lot to say about what is going on here. They have a lot to say. They are not happy. They are not comfortable. But I kept quiet and I keep on protecting and defending you to keep you happy. And now you're going to protect and you're going to defend me against this family. And she says, defend you against what, Mom? They're not here to fight. We're about to be a family. They are not here to fight. Now, while they're having that conversation in the bathroom, at the table, there's just this awkward vibe. Mrs. Lieberman doesn't know what to say. She's eating her food. Mamncane is looking at Mr. Asaju and his brother like, my goodness, I'm so sorry. She's sipping on her wine. She doesn't know what to say. Where is Mrs. Asaju? She's used the toilet. She's not back at the table. Oh no, she is standing in that guest room closer to the door so that she can make a break for it when she needs to. But she's listening in on the whole conversation between Nandi and her mother about how Nandi has a child she knows nothing about. If she had known, she would have never allowed this marriage to go forward. How can my son be marrying a girl who has a child? She already has a child. Where is the father of this child? Where is he? Why does my son have to now be responsible for another mouth? Now he must raise a child that's not his. Absolutely not. So she backs out of that room and she slowly walks back to the table. And now she has this look on her face like, yeah, I know the secret. I know the secret. Eventually, she sits down, she takes a sip of her drink, and she waits for Nandi and her mother to come back to the table. They sit down and now they're looking at each other like, I will take you down. The husbands are looking at their wives like, calm down, settle down. It's enough now. Mr. Dlamini is saying to his wife, he's holding her by the arm and saying to her, it's enough now. Calm down. Stop it. Now stop it. It's enough. Mr. Asaju is looking at his wife like, please, I'm not going to warn you again. It's enough. Be quiet. Be quiet. And he's saying to her, you need to calm down. You are embarrassing and you're disappointing our son. Calm down. And so Mrs. Asaju sits there. She sits there and she's staring at Mrs. Dlamini and she's staring at Nandi. She's staring at them both. Mrs. Lieberman doesn't know what to do but chime in. She says, I would just like to say, Mr. and Mrs. Asaju, Mr. and Mrs. Lamini, you guys have done such a stellar job at raising your kids. They are so amazing. Nandi is absolutely an amazing young woman. She's kind, she's loving, she's nurturing, and wow, Emmanuel, he is so respectful and so responsible. I mean, counseling them is such a pleasure. I see a lot of young couples coming in to my office who are looking to tie the knot, and we do premarital counseling. And, some of them I can tell, it might just not work, but I've never had any doubt in my mind about your children. They are going to make this relationship work. It's going to be amazing. She goes on about the blending of this family and how she is just so proud to witness this coming together of two families and how much they love each other, and that's the most important thing. And while they're talking, Mrs. Asaju and Mrs. Lamini are looking at each other. They're looking at each other up and down. The men are looking at Mrs. Lieberman with pride, like, yes, we raised these amazing kids, absolutely. Emmanuel is just standing there, sitting there, shaking his head. He doesn't even know what to say, and Nandi is just in shock and horror. She's looking at that, and she's just like, what is going on? How can this be happening? And Emmanuel can see. He can see that she's reeling and she's feeling some type of way. And so he grabs her leg under the table and she gives him her hand. And they start holding hands under that table and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. Next thing, there's a knock at the door. Hey guys, how you doing? So before, no, wait. I hope you guys are enjoying my story times. The in-laws, as the story is titled, is by far one of the most exciting stories I've worked on. I'm having so much fun writing the story. So yes, again, what's next for the champagne room? I know you guys love being in here with me. As I said to you guys before, we're looking to turn stories like this, like the in-laws, into a short film so that I don't have to sit here and narrate it. As much as I love talking with you guys, I think it would be so much more exciting if we could actually see all of this. Don't you guys agree? Well, if you do, you guys can be a part of making that a possibility. So before I launch part 2 of the in-laws, I'm going to set a goal. In order for me to bring in part 2, I want us to start climbing. So I'm going to put my information at the bottom so that we can start getting donations coming in, and you guys can help me raise at least 1,000 Rand so that we can bring in part 2 of the champagne room, and we can keep building and building and building and building on that until we get to the point where we can actually create a short story. So yes, guys, in the comment box below, I've put information where you guys can donate as much as you can. You can donate directly to my business account or to my PayPal, so that we can bring in part 2 of the in-laws, and of course continue to build so that these champagne room stories can become a short film. Thank you guys so much for the love, the support, the comments, the reposts, the shares. Please continue to do that. Let's get this going. Let's get this going. I know together we can raise this 1,000 Rand. So do what you guys do best, and see you soon. See you for part 2. See you soon.